This video is brought to you by Indie Audio Labs. Hey guys, Jay here. So one of my favorite rooms at Expona had to be this room right here with the new Thunderbird Tribe towers from Totem and the Aragon gear. I'm a big fan of both, as you guys may know, so this was a neat treat for myself. The Thunderbird here are basically a bigger and badder version of the Totem Tribe towers I loved so much a few years ago, and unfortunately I wasn't able to interview Totem, which kills me inside, but look, I'm gonna have a review of the speaker shortly, so make sure you're subscribed for it. But I did get a chance to talk to the Aragon guys and really dig into some of the new stuff they have going on, including their crazy amplifiers that can drive any speaker down to 1 Hertz. Yes, and you heard me right, 1 Hertz. Now, you won't hear 1 Hertz, but you will see it. The DAC and the preamp also very impressive with inbuilt room correction and crossover capabilities, all using very high quality parts according to Aragon. So I am in the Aragon room. We have Rick and Rick. And Aragon is a brand that I think that I have a long history with. I had the 4004 Mark 1 and the Mark 2. And I believe it was at the time designed by Dendex Dino, which I very much admire. And I just found out that they would be at the Expona show with some new Aragon amplifiers. So I was very curious. So I stopped by. So can you tell me a little bit about you have 2 rooms there. We'll check out the other room in a bit. But can you tell me a little bit about the the gear behind us? I see a stereo amplifier and a very nice preamplifier.
Yeah. So our preamp is really neat because it does a lot of things. We have a really excellent DAC built in. We have the ability to do multi-way crossovers. And if you have a turntable and you want to be analog direct, you can do that. We have a complete analog domain volume control. But if you want to use the DAC and you want to do bass management, have a sub, do crossovers, you can also do that. So it's a very flexible piece. It also has the ability to utilize our room correction system. So if you have somebody with kind of acoustically troubled room, this can work out for them.
So the preamplifier also has digital capability?
Yes.
So it has a DAC built in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it have a streamer built in?
No.
Okay.
No,
So
and that's why we've got a streamer here that pairs nicely with our stuff, but we're using our DAC.
Okay, so it's really a DAC and preamplifier.
Yes.
Okay.
And then our amplifier, in this case, we have our stereo titanium. And the titanium is conservatively rated at 200 watts at 8 ohms, 400 at 4. It just keeps doubling. We have heavily biased Class AB, so we get about 12 watts Class A. Like I said, conservatively rated 200 at 8. It's a true monoblock. It has 2 transformers, independent filter banks, completely separate amp cards. Nothing is common until you get to the IEC power socket. That's it. So it's true dual mono construction. So it's an excellent piece, and it's the fastest stereo amp on the planet with 120 volt per microsecond slew rate. Wow. So imaging is just unreal out of this amp.
Cool. And what's the price point on the preamplifier?
So the tungsten retails for $20K, and the titanium stereo retails for $13K. And we have the monoblocks over there. They retail for the same price. You're just going to need 2 of them.
Okay. And so if I buy the stereo, can I later add another one to make it monoblocks?
The monoblock is made specifically as a BTL mono amplifier. Considerations with the input sensitivity. It has 1 massive transformer. It's just completely designed to be the way it is. So you can't take this guy and bridge it. So the monoblock is optimized to be the best BTL amplifier, doubling the power, doubling the slew rate, and doubling the high biased Class A power available compared to the titanium.
Okay. And may I ask why the price point, the $20K for the preamp?
Because it's awesome. No, joking aside, I mean, if you want to make an excellent DAC, you could go to the competition and it might be 10 grand for an excellent DAC, 8 grand for an excellent DAC. Excellent analog preamp could be 8 or 10 grand. If we want to put them in one box with no compromises and have the things like the ability to do room correction, and one thing that not a lot of guys talk about is it's upgradable. And let's say in the future we have a better DAC or a better analog card and you send this back to the factory for that upgrade, we're so confident in the rest of the product, we restart your warranty. So all of our stuff has a 5-year warranty, and the preamp comes back for an upgrade, the customer gets 5 more years of warranty. So at a fraction of the new price, they can keep the warranty going and their investment is kind of, kept safe. Whereas normally you buy a piece of equipment, a couple years later, you've got to sell it for a fraction of what you paid for it, buy the next one, and we're kind of protecting you from obsolescence.
Very cool. Aside from that, I also heard that you guys use some top quality parts in this.
Yeah, so all of our pieces, Ted's not here, but he's the guy that's really spent a lot of time optimizing the bill of materials on every item we have. It doesn't matter if it's a surface mount resistor or capacitor or the caps in the filter bank. Every piece is as high a quality and as tight a tolerance as it can be. When the titanium and iridium were redesigned with surface mount technology, tolerances were kept as tight as possible. Anything we could do to optimize signal and noise ratio, just keep it as clean. We never use auto route in laying out the PC boards. Everything is exceptionally well laid out. And all that stuff pays dividends when you hear it. We'll fire it up in a little bit.
Yes, and I'll definitely have an impression.
That's the best part.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear it. But I just want to kind of touch upon, because I was a huge fan of Aragon, when Dan DiCastino designed it. From that time, is there a lot of change in the design philosophy?
So that's like the starting point, and Rick can correct me, but there's a couple other guys that got involved later. There was Tony, Mike,
Mike Kuziak,
Mike Kuziak, and other people have taken that design and moved it forward. So that's like the very basis, and then this guy, compared to like an 8008 or 4004, it pays homage to the original design, but it might as well be all new. I mean, the only thing, if you just look at the card, you readily recognize is, it has 12 transistors. The transistors are faster, they're hand matched. The emitter resistors, like nothing's left to chance. In fact, our output relay alone is the biggest in industry. It can start a 3 horsepower motor at 277 volts.
In fact, we reevaluated the design in light of the new parts that were available to us. As Rick said, faster transistors, wider bandwidth, lower noise components throughout. We basically went back to the drawing board and said, okay, let's simulate, do Monte Carlo analysis, and we varied components to get the optimal combination, and then that's what became the new design. And frankly, it's something that, like prior designs that have lasted in the market 20 years in terms of reliability, we're pretty confident that these designs are going to have staying power. We've got products of this new design that have been in the market and in continuous use for over 10 years already.
Yeah, they're timeless. I mean, they're that good. And you see these things AP tested all the time. What's the actual functional bandwidth of this amplifier?
Yeah, this amplifier actually extends beyond 100 kilohertz in terms of top end bandwidth. And on the bottom end, it's really interesting. It's a DC coupled amp with a servo. It actually has response that's usable down to 5 hertz. So when you listen to some tracks that we're going to play here shortly, in some of the high resolution tracks with extended low frequency response, you get beyond just the low fundamentals of kick drums and basses and things like that. You get the whole presence of sort of a seismic event in your music. So it's pretty cool.
I can show you a track with 1 hertz in it.
Yes.
And
1 hertz.
Yeah, that's why we bring the Totem speakers, right? We partnered with them because they make a driver that can take that, and we have an amp and a DAC that can actually present it to the speaker. So it's a unusual scenario because 1 hertz, some DACs can't even play it, some amps can't handle it. We have it on both sides.
Okay, I have a question. So what happens if you have Totem speakers here, which I know I love and it's very capable. What happens if you plug it in and play that 1 hertz on a speaker that's not capable?
Well, some speakers, it's like this. Every bit of information in octave that is maybe not like what we readily accept in music, like some people say, music 30 hertz, 16K, not really true. The bandwidth of the amplifier needs to extend way above, way below to have everything in even order. If a speaker has a resonant frequency that's not conducive to reproducing that, it usually just doesn't move. But the torrent lets us see it. It's like a stethoscope to show me how great my amp is. That's why I like playing with these speakers.
My next question is, what track has 1 hertz?
It's an album called Hell Bass. I can't say it without laughing, but it's called that.
Hell bass?
Yes, yeah, it's an album of just bass test tracks. It's really fun, and
Okay, I'm gonna have to look
you can
that
play
up.
it on other stuff, and you might get like some reaction. You play it on our DAC and our amp, and the woofers just go nuts. Like if anybody sees this and tries it, do it at really low volumes at first.
Yes.
Don't.
Wow.
I'm not responsible for whatever you guys.
That
blow
might be
up.
my next bass track if it hits 1 hertz. I've never heard that in my life. Well, I have a question.
Yeah, you won't hear it. You'll see it.
It sounds to me from a lot of what you guys are saying, like you guys basically wanted to build a statement piece, like basically with no compromise.
Yeah. So the idea
that
is
the goal?
everything we make it's not cheap. But when you look at what its actual sonic competition is, or it's like if you look inside and look at the build internally, its competition is 2 to 3 times our price. So our competitors for this amplifier are really in the 30 to 50K range, and we're at 13. That's our sonic competitors. Our price peers are different, but our sonic competitors are many more times money because you take this guy apart. I'll give you an example. Our filter caps in the power supply are the size of a soda can or a beer can, for those of you more familiar with that. And the reason they're so big is because they're low ESR, really high quality capacitors. You can buy another cap that's 37,000 microfarads and it'll be smaller, but its ESR will be higher. You're going to have more ripple in the power supply. That's an example where we spent 3 times the money to get a better part that everybody can enjoy. An amp like this normally has 1 35 amp bridge rectifier. We have 4. Everything is just to the maximum. And that lets you buy this. Your kids could have it, your grandkids could have it. It's still going to be not only working. I mean, our old stuff was reliable, right? But this is going to be relevant. This amp is so good, you can buy it 10 years from now, you'll still be glad you have it. And the preamp, that's why we made it upgradable. The amp is going to keep making you happy so long. The preamp, because when you talk about DACs, you talk about things that kind of do get obsolete at some point. Why take that 20K investment and throw it away? Put 10, 12% of that back in it, make it new again. Restart your warranty. It keeps it relevant.
Interesting. So what's the sonic theme that you're going for? Like what would you describe it? Is it dynamics that you're trying to?
It's everything. Like what you're going to hear are, if you put it with a good speaker where you can really enjoy the imaging characteristics, that's what our slew rate is giving you. Everything that's recorded it doesn't matter if it's a singer singing to a mic and you add the effects later, or if it was actually done in a room. All that information, the slew rate, the speed of the amplifier is what lets our brain decode that. Small little preamps can do this very easily, but doing it with an amp at large voltage swings is quite difficult. And these guys have taken that design, modified it, and essentially made it so good now that you can get that at real voltages. Competition slew rate, 30 volts-ish, 120. That's 4 times faster. That's huge. And so by having slew rate give you the speed and our frequency response is linear, we play nice with all speakers. You can put this on any speaker. If a dealer has it or a customer, I can't say like, oh, this is going to make this speaker bright and this one dark. It doesn't do that. It plays nice with all of them.
But it'll be best with a speaker that's capable of handling 1 hertz.
Hey, a speaker capable of handling 1 hertz is always good, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you can put it with all kinds of stuff. Like we've got dealers that put them with Bowers. We have dealers putting them with Dyne Audio. We have dealers putting them with Totem. We have guys buying them and putting them on Magnapans. It's like they're good on everything. It's not the old like.
You guys are making me want to hear it real bad because I haven't heard it yet, and you're making it sound like it's like the end of the games.
Right. Well, we have the combination of really high amp speed, we have good damping, and we have that ability to give you the first watts in Class A being high biased AB. So it's kind of an everything optimized for a good long-term keeper. It's a desert island amplifier,
You're making the stereo amplifier sound so good, but I know that you guys have monoblocks.
It just takes everything it does and doubles it. Doubles the slew rate, doubles the power. And again, back to those power ratings, they're really conservative. We test everything before it leaves the door, audio precision tested, right? So this guy's rated 200 at 8. I think they do about 350 at 8 in our testing. I mean, you could look at it like this is a really conservative RMS number, and we have a lot of dynamic headroom, or however you want to really look at that. But they all under-promise, over-deliver. The monoblock is rated at 400. You look at the AP tests, they're usually mid to high 5s at 8 ohms. And, 4 ohms is significantly more. So just absolute powerhouses.
So are all these amplifiers, the stereo and the monoblocks, like 2 ohm capable?
Yeah, so they will drive any speaker you can buy. You know, and they are protected with rail fuses, but ultimately anything other than, you know, dead short, I mean, we continuously rate them in the 2 ohms. So if you have a speaker that's nominally 2 ohms, that's okay. Yeah. If it dips to 1.6 and goes up to 3, that's fine. You know, every speaker is a complex impedance curve.
Yep.
You can have a speaker made by somebody they say is 4 ohms and it can dip to 1.7.
And my viewers are familiar with that because I measure speakers.
Right. Yeah, so we can handle all of that stuff with both amplifiers, and that's why you don't just take the stereo and bridge it, because the monoblock was designed to handle that. If you take a stereo amp of other guys and flip a switch and it's bridged, usually if it was stereo 2 ohm capable, it's now mono 4 ohm capable, right? Well, our mono is still 2 ohm capable.
So the Aragon stereo, that is, you said 13K if I remember
13K,
correct.
Yep.
How much is the monos?
Same price, you just got to buy 2. So 26K gets you the pair.
You know, I got to give you guys props for that, because sometimes when I see companies, you know, literally have a monoblock that's like 3-4 times the price as their stereo, but you guys are just saying like it's literally double. You want
I mean, so it's the same chassis. What we do though is the cards in both of these amplifiers, you see you have 2 heat sinks, right? There's a card on each heat sink and they are 100% mirrored. Identical circuitry, 100% mirrored, like both the output relays and the back, for example. The monoblock uses the same 2 cards on each side, but the amps are mirrored. You'll see in a minute the heat sinks are both on, you know, the inside or the outside, depending on how you place them. So it's a completely mirrored presentation. And there's also a cool reason we build it this way. The heat sinks are together. The notch helps, like, see how this shelf is close to it? We still have adequate airflow. The heat sinks are sharing a thermal envelope, which is great for getting the bias consistent between the 2 cards. You have all this room for the massive power supply I talked about on this side. And on the mono, it's the same thing, but just flipped.
So another question, where is the amplifier made? Because, you know, 13,000 for a stereo, it's up there, but considering all the things you're talking about, like beer can size caps, you know, like is this made in China or overseas?
No, I'm actually excited to tell you that they're about 3.5 hours south of here, in Indianapolis, Indiana. So that was one of the premises of our company, was could we make a high performance line that was reliable and made in the US completely. And that was just a challenge that we threw down when we started the company back in late 2008. And it was not easy to do, but we were able to assemble a good group of supply chain suppliers for all the critical parts in the product. All the boards are made in the US. In fact, some of the most complex boards are made in a facility. It's about 10 minutes from our headquarters on the north side of Indianapolis. The result is we're able to deliver a product that we can stand behind a 5-year warranty and upgrade the warranty when they upgrade the product, and feel comfortable that some of those boards will be in there 10 years trouble-free.
So like
10 to 20.
all of it is made in America, United States? All of it?
Well, of course, as you know, if you're in electronics, there's components and small modules that you have to buy as assemblies that come from places like Taiwan, Malaysia, sometimes China. That's something that's unavoidable. But the main signal path and the circuitry that surrounds the DACs and the DSP processing and all the analog paths and all the main boards that are assembled and designed to make this what it is and what makes it unique. Those are all things that are our designs, and they're made here in the U.S. And they're
very cool.
Manufactured in the U.S., delivered to us as a completed board. We do tests, bring them into the units. Every unit gets a full test of literally thousands of parameters. Even the basic amplifiers have data of many hundreds of data points per amplifier that we store in a database forever. We actually have data going back to our first amps that we built back in 2012. And we use that for ongoing quality improvements and so forth.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive because not that 13K is a small amount of money for for a lot of people to swallow, but the type of kind of testing and servicing and made in America factor is something that I see in much higher price points for let alone 13,000
Yeah.
for stereo amp.
Yeah, we think that from a value perspective, we are probably the leading value company when it comes to Made in America electronics. From a technology perspective, software is a huge portion of what we do in addition to fundamentally good analog hardware. And so as a result, we've taken kind of a leadership role in that area. You're looking at some of our 2-channel products and capabilities. We actually design our own home theater processors going up to high channel count Dolby Atmos. And this is all software and things that we are doing in-house. We're probably the only, if not one of the few, possibly the only US-based processor manufacturer right now. And so, we're very proud of that. We've got a lot of high-profile, not only end users, but also professional users. We're starting to see use of it in professional movie studios for mastering and for quality checking. We're seeing use of it in mastering games that are now being distributed in Atmos and things like that. They use our preamps because they want to get sort of the best case rendition of what a consumer would experience with their mix. So we're pretty proud of that.
So in light of full transparency, I actually did this video before Expona. So Expona started on Friday. I visited this room on Thursday night. So it was my first room. And we spent about 2 to 3 hours just rocking out to music. And it was really awesome. And I know this is a sponsored video, but I thought the sound was fantastic. We played some heavy bass torture tracks. And the system did not disappoint. So make sure to subscribe and click that like button because I will definitely look into reviewing the Aragon pieces here as well as the Totem Tribe Thunderbird towers very soon. So make sure to subscribe and click that like button on this video and I'll see you guys on my next one. Until next time.